It's a tricky thing, knowing when to take a leap. Hi, I'm Angel. Thanks for stopping by. I think it's easy to wait too long when we want to take a big leap and psych ourselves up and make ourselves more nervous and more tense than is ideal. And it's also easy to leap a little early, jump the gun, and end up falling short because we didn't, wait for that perfect moment to follow through with a leap. I'm thinking of a lot of sports analogies in my mind right now, but it applies to, I think, lots of things in life. And I'm a leaper, as I was just telling a friend of mine today. I've been leaping off of things in a somewhat reckless manner since I learned to walk, really, maybe even earlier, I don't know. So, that's part of my nature, and it's something, I'm not using that as an excuse for, it's just something I accept about myself. It's even something I like about myself. However, I acknowledge that at times it's been something that has gotten in my way because I tend to hurt myself a lot. I tend to come off as reckless to other people, and so that affects my reputation. And while I'm okay with some of that, I have learned that it's important for me to temper that aspect of myself. Now that I know that's how I am, that's a kind of inherent trait that I have, it's important for me to put in some regular checks to calm myself down, find people, partners to interact with who are good at calming me down when I get escalated instead of egging me on. It's a tricky dance, like anything in life. However, I do think that it can be done. I think I was just listening to one of many Joe Rogan podcasts, which I enjoy listening to. I got to go through rounds of things. I'll focus on one thing for a long time, so I'm on a Joe Rogan kick the last couple days, and so I don't remember who he was talking to specifically, but I do remember they were talking about let's see. Actually, I do remember who it was. It was a fellow comedian named Duncan, and he wrote. I wrote down a quote that he said, which was, let's see if I don't mess it up. Turn your something into a trampoline. Turn your, gosh, why I can't remember it now. It's just so silly. It was right on the tip of my brain. Did you see it fizzle away? I could feel it. Anyhow, turn your weakness into something to bounce off of is what he was saying with a cooler little trick of phrase. And I really like that idea. I think about that a lot, to bounce off the bottom, so to speak, or to use your acceptance of some limitation as a way of getting around that very limitation, or using that limitation as a way of forwarding your progress on your big ideas or your big goals and your big dreams. So I'm looking forward to continuing to do more of that. I recently raised a lot of my prices, raised my standard in lots of ways, but I really have been working on my own sense of self-worth, and I realized that I was not only holding my own sense of self-worth down by working at for a lower pay, but I've been reducing the value my perceived value for others, and increasing the number of people that I was interacting with a similar kind of limited mindset. So as I'm making the shift into overcoming my own limited mindset, especially regarding financial abundance and peaceful conflict management in my relationships, my interpersonal, my intimate relationships, I've made a lot of progress, I feel like, in overcoming a lot of limiting beliefs that I've been holding on to as long as I can remember. And in doing that, I've realized that I need to interact with people who've also done that more and more and more. And part of that is raising my prices. Part of that is interacting with people who value me more. And yeah, it's a good feeling. I would love to know what you think about that. Do you feel like you're valuing yourself enough? Do you struggle with a sense of self-worth? Because if you do, let me tell you, you're not alone. I think that's probably the most common human struggle there is we come up against a limitation. It's kind of the archetypal hero story, right? We come up to a limitation. We feel unworthy of our own goal because of this limitation. And then if we're good enough, if we're lucky, we figure out how to face that limitation, overcome it, have it dissolve, learn new skills, make ourselves stronger, and then reach the goal, conquer the demon, whatever it is that's our quest in that hero's journey. I think that's a really neat lens to look broad scope at our lives. Excuse me. And I like using that. I like using those archetypal lenses pretty frequently to kind of to analyze where I am and what other people might be struggling with. And so that hero's journey applies to most of us, and I think you could boil that down in almost all cases to a struggle with our own sense of self-worth. And so if you're struggling with your sense of self-worth, you are not alone. You're a human being right here with all the other human beings. And you can overcome it. You can learn to overcome it. Just like hero story or after hero story, just like every person you know who you perceive to be successful at something, I guarantee you they've overcome that struggle with their own sense of self-worth in order to own themselves, own their own self-worth, step up to their own self-worth, step up to your own self-worth. I'm stepping up into mine. It feels good, doesn't it? I think so. As always, you can find ways to connect to me, ways to support me, ways to hire me down in the description below. I welcome your questions and comments. I'd love it if you share this video with somebody, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd love that too. Till next time, I wish you peace, prosperity, positivity, potential, and playfulness.